Today on Flipping Science, we're going to be looking at how to draw and name simple and branched alkanes. So alkanes are compounds that are just made up of carbon and hydrogen, one bond to everything. So one bond to each carbon, one bond to each hydrogen. They can make long chains, they can make branch chains, and we're going to be looking at how we name them. And then from naming, we should be able to figure out how to draw them. So down the bottom here, we can see three simple ones. So we can see methane, ethane, and propane. This gives you a bit of an indication about how we name them. So we've got meth, eth, and prop. And we'll have a look at what that means. So when we're naming, we're looking at, and this works for all organics, we're looking at prefixes, infixes, and suffix. So a prefix is the bit at the front. So meth means one, for example. Eth means two, and we're going to keep using those a bit later on. An infix comes in the middle of a word. We use that later on when we're looking at indicating where particular types of functional groups are in a chain. And suffixes, they tell you what type of molecule you're looking at. So propane, for example, prop means three, ane means it's an alkane. So this is propane here. There's three carbons and lots of hydrogens. So to name the alkanes, we need to remember four things to start with and then just remember our shapes after that. So meth means one, eth means two, prop means three, and bute means four. So if you have a carbon chain with one carbon in it, it's methane, which is this one over here. If you've got two carbons, that makes it ethane. So this is ethane over here, so there's two carbons in the chain. Prop, so propane, so 1, 2, 3, so there's three carbons in the chain. And then butane, there's four carbons in the chain. We can see those down here. After that, you just need to remember your shapes. So a five-sided shape is a pentagon, so you say pentane for 5 carbons. 6 is hex, so a hexagon, hexane. 7, heptagon, heptane. 8, octagon, octane. That's about as far as we go in year 12, up to 8. After that, you'd have non, and then after that, decane. So if we have a look at this one down here, we can count the number of carbons in the chain. So if we look down here, we number them. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 carbons in the chain, all simple single bonds everywhere, so that's going to be decane. To make things more complicated, we can get branches occurring. So that means we can get little bits of little carbon groups coming off of a main chain. We call this the parent chain, and this is our little branch over here. In the chemistry in high school that we do, we really only deal with two types of chains, so methyl and ethyl chains. So a methyl chain, meth means one, has one carbon, and ethyl chain, eth means two, there's two carbons in there. So when we're naming things like this one down here, we need to look at a few things. We need to find the longest chain to start with, so see how many carbons are in our longest chain. We need to figure out how many carbons are in our branch, and from there we can figure out our name. We need to indicate where the branch is as well. So first step we're going to do is find the longest chain. So if we look at our example down here, we've got 3 carbons in this chain, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that chain, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that chain. So our longest chain is a 6 carbon chain, which is hex, so we're going to remember that later on. Next step is to number the carbons, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You want to number the carbons so that the chain is closest to the lowest number in your carbons. So rather than starting numbering over at this side with carbon 1, 2, 3, etc. here, that would make this a branch on carbon 5, whereas if we number it from this end, it's on carbon 2. We could start numbering from this carbon up here, so 1, 2, 3, and that wouldn't make any difference in this case. So now we've got all the information we need to figure out our name of this hydrocarbon chain down here. So on carbon 2, we've got a methyl group, so we start with that. 2. Now, here's a rule. Whenever you go from a number to a letter, you need to have a hyphen, so 2. So on carbon 2, we've got a branch. That branch is methyl, so say 2 methyl. And then we need to put the name of the parent carbon chain at the end. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's a hexane chain, so 2 methyl hexane. Right, so that's the name of this molecule over here. If we have a look at this one over here, we again need to follow the same rules. So this is showing similar information to this, but this is very basic. What it means is at the end of any of these bits here, that means you've got a CH3 group, and then whenever you've got a changing angle, that's a CH2 group. So we're going to see if we can find the longest chain here to start with. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think if we start from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 6 is our longest, so we're going to start numbering. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got a methyl group on carbon 2 and a methyl group on carbon 3. Again, I'm numbering from this end because that gives us our lowest numbers here. So we get 2, 3 rather than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we've got 2 methyl groups, so we need to indicate both of those when we're naming. So we've got a methyl group on carbon 2 and a methyl group on carbon 3. So we're going to put 2 and 3. Whenever you separate 2 numbers, you need to have a comma. Then we're going to go to a letter, so we need a hyphen, so 2, 3. Now, you need to indicate how many groups you have. In this case, we've got 2, so we use the prefix di. Right, so dimethyl. If you had 3, it would be tri. If you had 4, it would be tetra, and that's about as high as we'll go. So 2, 3 dimethyl, and again, the parent chain here is hexane, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2, 3 dimethyl hexane. All right. Alright, so let's have some practice at both naming and drawing. So we have a look at this one here. We need to find our longest chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 4 long. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, I'm numbering so that the branch is on the lowest number. So this is a methyl branch. There's only 1 carbon there. So 2 hyphen, because we're going from a letter to a number to a letter, sorry. So 2 methyl. 1, 2, 3, 4, methyl, ethyl, propyl, butyl. So that's butane. All right. Let's have a look at this branch here. Again, we need to find our longest chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's going to be 5, whichever way we go. Okay. So now I'm going to number. I'm going to start from this end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now our side chain this time here, this is an ethyl side chain because there's 2 carbons in it. So we need to indicate on what carbon it's on, so that's on carbon 3. So 3, we're going from a letter to a number, so 3 we need to have a hyphen. This is an ethyl, so we need to say ethyl. And then our parent, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so methyl, ethyl, propyl, butyl, pent, so it's pentane. All right. Let's have a look at this one here. So we've got an ethyl side chain here and an ethyl side chain here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is where I'm going to start. So I've got 1, 2. Now if we do it that way, that means we've got both a methyl and an ethyl side chain. The rule is you want to have the alphabetical order, so ethyl has to come before methyl. So in that case, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think. So we've got 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is my carbons. So on carbon 3, we've got this ethyl group. So 3 hyphen ethyl. Then on carbon 5, we've got a methyl. 5 methyl. And then it's a hexane, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So hexane. Alright, so that one's nice and tricky. Lastly, we'll do some drawing. So you need to be able to draw from a name and name from a drawing. So butane, so methyl, ethyl, propyl, butyl, so that's 4. So I'm going to just do 4 carbons, 2, 3, 4, and then put in all my hydrogens. Each carbon has to have 4 bonds. So that's a good check to make sure you've done everything right. Right, so there's butane. Methyl, ethyl, propyl, butyl, so there's 4. Then we've got 3 methyl hexane. So to do this one, I'm going to start by drawing the chain at the end, so my hexane. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then on the third carbon, I've got a methyl group. So I'm going to put my methyl there. Then I'm going to draw in the rest of my hydrogens. Lastly, this one's going to be quite long. So I've got 2,2-dimethyl nonane. So that means on carbon 2, I've got 2 methyl groups. Okay, and nonane, so that's going to be 9. So this is going to take up a bit of space. On carbon 2, I've got a methyl and I've got another methyl. So now I need to fill in my H's. Alright, anyway, that's fairly simply how you name alkanes. Main thing to remember is follow the rules. So you count the number of carbons, methyl, ethyl, propyl, butyl for 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then after that, use your shapes. Branches, you need to number the carbon chain that's longest, find out where your branches occur, figure out what type of branches they are, and then you put that at the front of the name. So that's it for Flippin Science today. See ya.